Where are you going? Bathroom break? What's going on? I know those bladders aren't holding up very long for you right now. Come on. My man. How we doing? Right here. My man Lance right here. Chad and Lan right there. How we feeling? We good? Are we ready? We awake? Chip, my man right here. My man with the one-liners. It was 1990. It was Friday night. I was cruising down Sunset Strip, past the massive billboards of bright lights of Hollywood. Now, I'd come a long way, all the way from Canada, to get to this exact spot. Because up there, in that club, on the 3rd floor, was where it was all happening. So I parked my car, I got in line. Now, thankfully, I had a friend that got me on the guest list, so I was able to navigate some of the madness of the velvet rope, and I stepped inside. Now, the 1st and 2nd floor, rock stars, models, celebrities. But I wasn't there for that. It was the 3rd floor. As I took that last step, I turned that corner, there they were. All the freestylers, hip-hop heads, and legends of street dance culture. I mean, there was Rob Vincent, just off tour with Janet Jackson, one of the smoothest freestyles of the day. And that was Skeeter Rabbit. That's right, Skeeter Rabbit, a legend from the Electric Boogaloos. Danced with everybody from Michael Jackson to David Bowie. So I was making my way through the crowd, and then it happened. The DJ, he played that song, that one track that resonates beyond the beat. Well, then the whole club just transformed into this circle around one person in the groove. The circle. The language of this culture. It's the fundamental paradigm for performance and communication, collaboration, and community. It's where everything happens, but you have to step in. And you have to, Mike, this work? Put in my pocket. Now, this first guy was stepping in with all this crazy footwork and hitting these angles as he did these turns. And then the guy slid in and he was locking it up. All this funk and soul. And then Rob, he came in with those smooth transitions and those levels he liked to hit. Now, I was over at the side and I was just kind of freaking out a little bit. And I was like, okay, I came all this way. I've got to get in this circle. So I walked towards it, came close, and then something weird happened. My legs felt like lead weights. And so I went back over to the side, and I tried to get back in the zone, And I came back, and we came back to the center, and I walked up, and I couldn't do it. Couldn't step in the circle. Have you ever been in a situation where you backed away from an experience that you just knew you were meant to be a part of? Where you judged yourself and questioned your ability to interact with your surroundings, let alone engage with anybody? I stayed there for an hour, a full hour, trying to psych myself up. Couldn't get in there. And it wasn't the last time. But I wasn't going to quit because I got to back up just a little bit and rewind, because just a few years earlier, I was back up in Canada. I was standing in my dad's office. I looked around the room and I saw the family photos, and back in the back he had his certificates and his degrees, and then down to his smiling face. And I was like, I'm about to make this drastic decision. It's going to break his heart. I mean, I was going to tell my father, after all this time and all this effort, that I was not going to follow in his footsteps and become a doctor. Now, the funny thing is, funny now, was his reaction. He looked at me with this confused face, and he said, okay, son, so you're going to get into law? You like to talk? No, Dad. Okay. Engineering, you're top of your class in math. No, Dad. What I said next must have melted my dad's brain cells. I said, Dad, let me tell you what happened. So I was on campus, heading to the library to do some studies, and I see this tall, lanky dude named Colin, and he approaches me. And Colin approaches me and he says, I've been down in Los Angeles, and I've learned this brand new street dance style called popping. It's gonna blow your mind, it's incredible. And this guy says, I want you to learn it, and I want you to become part of it. And then he gave me an address, said, meet me there. Now, I don't know why he singled me out. I mean, back then, I was the only guy in my neighborhood that, looked like me and had a sweet fro, so maybe. Now, over at Colin's place, Colin had these speakers set up between laundry and boxes. And he put in the music, and before I could say, so what is street dance? He started to pop. It was like these electric bolts were like going through his body all on the beat. And then he started to roll his hips and travel. Then he started to section his body up in these different directions like he was some kind of Rubik's Cube. And then he set up for these waves that just went through his body, and they went all throughout his whole arms. And then he started to like glide across the floor. I mean, it was incredible. My whole body was vibrating. My hair shot straight up and stayed that way. Now, my dad wasn't the mean man by any stretch. But he loved to laugh and tell stories, but he came from another country to get to Canada. And in that country, there was sort of a linear way of thinking that some of you might be familiar with, that he brought with him. And it went like this: get a degree or don't talk to me. Translation: if you don't become an expert by these certain set of standards, then you don't really have much to offer. Now, I had a lot of experience with that way of thinking, do these certain things in this specific order, and you're going to get there. But I was sensing that when you solely focus on getting there, you sacrifice a lot of depth and adventure for a destination. I wasn't against starting a business with my dad, but that wasn't the focus. It was on this need for this external validation to have success and to get there. And that line offered very little room for error. I mean, as a matter of fact, as far as my dad was concerned, if you fell off that line, you weren't just failing, you were lost. And I was lost. I've been operating achievement to achievement, grade to grade. Being the good son and the people pleaser, I kept a smile on my face. But there was a lot of doing and a lot of proving without much understanding. And I couldn't explain it, but there's something about that dance that Colin was doing that I knew had answers for me. Now, it wasn't the moves he was doing, it was the groove behind it. It wasn't the moves, it's not the move, it's the groove. I've been stuck in these lines of transaction, and I had to step into a culture where you had to be present, where you couldn't just survive as a copy and go through the motions. Whether I was a dancer or a doctor, if I kept living life based on these moves, I was going to run out of them. But if I could connect to that groove, I could dance through life all day. So I stepped up that line of becoming a doctor, like my father. That line was now broken for me. That line was a circle. And I had to step in. Now, the place that people most commonly know about circles, and you all probably experience this in some form, is in a wedding. Last year at my daughter's wedding, after the father-daughter dance, which was outstanding, the whole dance floor opened up. And now my daughter, her friends are a rowdy bunch, so after my youngest son did a backflip on the dance floor, the place was packed from bridesmaids to grandma. But we know what usually happens. You're at a wedding, the circle forms. Some people come up to the edge. Many of you hang back, stay way back there. A couple of people are really raring to go, Mason's ready to go. And then it happens. Hey, why don't you go in the circle? People start poking you. Hey, why don't you go dance with, your cousin? Get in there, go dance. And maybe you get pulled into the circle. And then everybody's nervous. Some of you are nervous I might pull you right now. But why do we get nervous? Well, we don't look dumb. We don't want to dance poorly and not measure up. But we're also afraid to be bold. We're afraid to be courageous. We're afraid to let go. And guess what? You don't just get those feelings at weddings. You get those in your marriage. You get that at work, with your team, at church. In those hard decisions and hard conversations you're still avoiding. You're afraid to take that new venture. You're afraid to dance with your wife. And that's what a circle is. A circle is any moment when the rubber meets the road, when we have that chance to step into something that could be great, but we only have that first step, not the whole script. The circle is that challenge you're walking through right now when you have to make a choice. Are you going to lean in or not? Now go back to the wedding circle for a second. Imagine all your friends and family in that wedding circle all doing their thing. And now you could rise above that circle and look down. From this viewpoint, it's great. We get out of the tunnel vision on ourselves, and we can just see the need to activate and guide people towards the circle. You're not the only one in the relationship or at work. There are people next to you right now that are stressed out. There are people in your circles that are having a hard time. Maybe different locations, different challenges, but it's the same circle. And that circle, just like you, dancing at a wedding and having so much fun that everybody wants to join in. Turn to your neighbor and say, it's time to step in the circle. That was a little weak. Okay, turn to your other neighbor and say, you too. Now, we all have circles we need to step into, and I believe it's crucial for everyone to step into who they're designed to be and to bring that unique, authentic voice into the circle, into the spheres of influence in their lives. And it's crucial not just for the individual, it's crucial for the greater collective. And I also believe there's no substitute for this process. As leaders, we have to choose to step in and engage. At some point, models and manuals will only take us so far. Now, just imagine right now if we were all in a circle, all standing up, shoulder to shoulder. From that viewpoint, we're all on the same level playing field, and we're all an equal distance from and united by that same central focus. And as long as we stay engaged and connected, we maintain this integrity of this great circle. And the great thing about a circle is that in a circle, everybody is seen. The challenge with that is that there's nowhere to hide. All right, you ready? Mason, you're right, they're ready. I need everybody who's able to stand on their feet. Ah, yes, oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. You better be scared. Have everybody give me like a nice, Philadelphia Eagles stretch. Yes. We all have had experience with feeling a little bit of, self-judgment, feeling unqualified, and maybe feeling like an imposter. But I learned that in the circle and in the culture, to be welcomed and to belong, you had to step in that circle. I mean, I could be in another country and they'd say, Bradley, come on, man, we got to step in the circle. I could be backstage just before a major performance, television show. They say, Bradley, there's still a bit of time. There's still time. Come on. We got to step in the circle. I could actually be walking from the grocery store with a couple of bags of groceries in my hand, and all of a sudden they'd pull up and say, man, come on, put the bags down. Let's go. Parking lot, let's go. You got to. I could have on the wrong shoes, wrong time, with people I like, people I don't like. It didn't matter. I had to. All right. Now you're ready. So now I want you to just join me in a little side to side. I call this the Mason Shuffle. Now what we're going to do right now is we're going to keep this real simple. Mason corrected me. He said, Bradley, NCS does not stand for Nightclub Society. I had it wrong. I had to change the whole set. So we're going to keep it nice and easy. All I ask is that you don't stop moving when I'm talking, and we stay together, right? Cool? We're good with that? All right. Now, this is my mother. I'll show you a picture of my mother. And my mother, and that's my daughter, and that's my mother. There she is. Now, my mother, 10 days ago, celebrated her 97th birthday. Woo! Yeah, it's incredible. She came to live with us a year ago, active, engaged. Everything's going great. She was actually the very first black beauty queen in all of Canada. 1949 Carnival Queen. Yeah, McGill University, that's like our Canadian Harvard. That's where she met my dad. Yeah, you know that, right? Now, as spry as my mom is, sometimes her body lets her down, right? Her shoulders hurt, her back, her knees. How the knees doing out there? The knees okay? And being her age as well, you know, you can imagine she's seen a lot of people pass away. Her friends, family, her younger brother, then even her younger sister passed away a year ago. And sometimes I look at her sitting in her room and she's got this concern of the thoughts of family and all these things, and I see this just great weight just kind of fall on her, and she just sinks in this state. And so then I'll go in the other room and I'll put on a little bit of music, maybe something from her childhood, some calypso, or maybe a little Luther Vandross. And then my mom comes out. And she's doing hip rolls that I still can't do. It's like that weight just lifts right off of her. Nothing changes, but everything changes. It's like the groove just pulls her into the present. She forgets the pain of the past, and her future looks as bright as the sun. Now, right now, I've had you move side to side for a little bit with not much instruction, and I can see it. You're doing it. Turn to your neighbor and say, we're doing it. You're not thinking about how to do it or why you can't do it. You're just doing it. You're getting past the move, and you're connecting to the groove that unites us all. Look around, look around. Nice. Now, you're ready to lean in and trust. Now, one of the moments in my life when I stepped into one of the harder things was creating, don't stop moving on me, launch something called the Groovaloos. Now, the Groovaloos, my wife and I were in an effort to build community. We started this gathering in Los Angeles that grew into this larger movement over years, and within that, we also created the Groovaloos, this insanely group of talented artists and dancers who all traveled from all over the country to come to LA and make their mark. And at that time, there's many different styles of dance in street culture, just like there are different genres of movies and different languages. And at the time, the different street styles kept to themselves. And I had this vision of having them come together like this and share a vision about what could be happening as a collective and a group rather than struggling as individuals. And as momentum grew, I noticed that there was this gap between the excitement that the dance was bringing and then the connection to the heart behind the dance. So we began to fill that gap. There were many sleepless nights and very little sleep and times we couldn't pay rent, and there were times I wanted to jump back on that linear line, I tell you. But against all odds, we created this stage show based on our true stories. Let yourself get into it a little more. Come on, let yourself bend those knees a little bit, guys. You're not 97, I don't think. And we created this stage show, and it just started to really grow, and then word spread, and we got a call from So You Think You Can Dance. And they said, hey, we're looking for this special group to perform as the season finale. That performance changed the landscape. And that's what the Groovaloos did. We got on stages, and we stepped into circles of all kinds, and offered everything we could every time so that every audience would see a taste of what was possible. And in all that time, I came to see a structure, that there was a structure and a framework to the circle, and a pathway to being bold in hard situations. Now, then NBC called again, and they were starting a brand new TV show called Superstars of Dance. It was going to be this Olympic-style competition series. 8 countries from around the globe competing for the international championship. And the Groovaloos, we didn't even have to audition. They said, Bradley, you guys, we're choosing you. You're going to represent the United States. It was an incredible honor. But I almost blew it. Have a seat. Now, this is Stephen. Stephen Stanton. Stephen was born in a rough part of Detroit by a single mom. And his mother got him out of Detroit, got him to Los Angeles. That's where we met, became part of the Groovaloos, and even one of my very close friends. Now, as we were developing the stage show, Stephen was shot. Bullets severely damaged his lower spine, and we were told it was likely he would never walk again, let alone dance. Miraculously, over time, he was able to rejoin the production with the use of a cane, and we were able to tell his story. Now, fast forward back to NBC Superstars of Dance. If you may not know this about these reality shows, is that the production puts pressure on the situation, adds challenges along the way, hoping that there's going to be some tension, some flare-ups, a fight, a breakdown, so they can get that captured and get you watching the show. And in my response to knowing that from experience, I said, I just pulled Stephen from the roster. I checked out the boxes, Stephen's going to slow us down. He won't be able to adapt. He won't be able to. Well, thankfully, my leadership team held me accountable. And they're like, Bradley, Stephen's part of the circle. I knew they were right because at the root, I made that decision based on fear, not trust. And now I had to face Stephen because you can't hide in a circle. So I let him know about my fears and frustration about walking on eggshells around his limitations. And he said, Bradley, he set me straight. He said, Bradley, don't you ever pity me. If you have something you want us to do or try, you just say it. And then something beautiful happened. As we continued, we became inspired by all the things we could do. As we continued to press in and step in, it was like we had access to creativity that we never had before. Sometimes we think that creativity and innovation is somewhere out there. We got a secret way to get it. There's some secret magic potion. No. We have access to that right now in this room, in your team, in your circles. There's so much gold if you're willing to mine for it. Our next rehearsals were so free. Everything that had been limiting before became the strength. Stephen's cane went from something used for balance to leading us like a baton all the way through. Superstars of Dance was described, the premiere, as the greatest spectacle of dance ever seen on television. The Groovaloos and the U.S. team won the entire series. And we brought home... And we brought home the championship in front of millions of people, millions of viewers. Investment came for our tour, and our off-Broadway show became a reality. Jimmy Fallon's Dance with the Stars would follow. My career was then elevated to a whole new level. Now, winning was amazing, but stepping in the circle was way better. Now, this is Jeff Kelly. Jeff is, I started teaching Jeff dance when he was 14 years old. And over time, he became a member of the Groovaloos, and on his own, one of the top freestylers in the culture. I remember we were on Dance with the Stars, and we were there, and he was on the judges' table, and in the middle of the routine, he leapt sky high over us, landed right in the splits, came up right into perfect sync with us. It was, what? Now, in 2014, Jeff underwent life-threatening surgery to remove a colloid tumor from his brain. It was detected through some routine checkup at rehearsals for Cirque du Soleil. And this operation was going to be very delicate and lengthy and dangerous because they basically had to pull his skull apart to get to where it was. So I stayed in touch with his family, and a little time afterwards, I went to his house to see him at his mom's place. And I walk in, and he looked kind of, there's Jeff, he's good. He had these thick sunglasses on, but otherwise he's good. And we talked a little while, and I said, hey, Jeff, what do you say? Let's get out for a drive. He goes, yeah. I had no idea what it was going to take to get Jeff into my car. It was the longest 33 minutes I've ever experienced. He stood up, and as soon as he did, he just started to convulse and shake and just sweat. It was like he was short-circuiting while his legs were made out of rubber. And like he could read my mind, he said, Bradley, don't you help me. No, I got this. So I just put that walker in front of him, and I just stood back. And I watched this young man just stumble and groan and pause and sweat more and convulse more and shake more till he got to my car. And we got to the car. I opened the door, and he wrestled his way in there and fell fast asleep. Now, many years after, Jeff still deals with a lot of challenges. Like his balance is shot, his eyes hurt, he's got headaches all the time, his body's in pain. He's got this weird fatigue that never seems to leave him, and he gets these depressed states when he feels like everybody's against him. But he always says this one thing to me. He says, Bradley, I just want to get down. I just want to get down. Translation, I want to step in the circle. I want to chop it up. I want to engage. But when he does, the problem is he feels worse afterwards, and his family doesn't like that. And when I press him on that, he says, Bradley, you don't understand. When I step into that tension of the unknown, when all I got to do is focus on being present and engaged with what's around me and the rhythm and the people, that weight just lifts right off me, and I'm free. And I can say I've seen moments when he's done things in those moments that were just minutes ago impossible. There's something incredibly powerful about stepping into a circle, about choosing to take the attention off yourself, giving yourself over, allowing the groove to guide you into the present as you engage. I'm in a circle with you now, choosing exploration over ego and discovery over dread and adventure over isolation, choosing to activate and orchestrate over force and control, choosing curiosity and connection over agenda and transaction. You know, when I was in that office with my father all those years ago, I wasn't rejecting my father's hopes for me. I was listening to the groove. He was in that circle with me. My father has since passed, but near the end of his life, he said, Bradley, you may not have become a doctor, but I think you still help heal people. I had to step in that circle before I moved down the line. I know what it's like to feel not welcomed in a circle. I know the shame of feeling not good enough. I know the stress of feeling like an imposter as a leader. But I also know the joy and fulfillment that it takes when you step in and connect to the groove and invite others into their greatness. It's why I'm driven to guide and activate as many people as I can into the circle. You are not gravity. You are not a math equation. Stop trying to prove yourself. It's not about proving it, but it's about offering all you have and bringing that to the circles of your life. The person across from you is not your competition. They may inspire you to explore more of what you have to offer, but the moment you make them your competition, you have made that the bar. That's the standard. You miss out on everything that the circle has to offer the both of you beyond that. We all have overlapping circles in our lives. And at the center of each one is a focus and an energy that's just waiting for the next person to step in. Let us be the ones to lead with humility and vulnerability and courage. Let us be the ones to step out of those comfort zones and break away from the screens. Step off that edge of imitation. And let's learn to step in the circle. Thank you.